Good morning, and welcome to another edition of United Way for Southeastern Michigan's What's the Word Wednesday. My name is Courtney Howe, and today we will be discussing the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The last 10 minutes of today's conversation are reserved for questions, so please leave your questions in the Q&A box if you're watching on Zoom or in the comment box on Facebook. Now, I would like to welcome United Way's Director of Economic Mobility Initiatives, Megan Tebos, to say a few words. Megan?
Thanks, Courtney, and hello everyone, and welcome again to What's the Word Wednesdays with United Way. More than a year into this pandemic, COVID-19 remains much more than a health crisis. It's also an economic crisis. Households throughout our region are struggling to make ends meet. According to the Federal Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, more than 11 million Americans are currently behind on their rent. And that's why programs like the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or CERA, are so essential for keeping our families in our region in their homes. And we are very pleased today to be joined by two experts in this field, Kelly Rose and Michael Centi, who are going to tell us more about the CERA program and how it works. Kelly Rose is the Chief Housing Solutions Officer for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority, or MSHDA. She oversees the authority's efforts to assist the public in accessing quality and affordable housing through rental properties. And she's also the chair of the governor-appointed Michigan Interagency Council on Homelessness. She's a West Point graduate and has served for 7 years as an officer in the U.S. Army. And so she is an expert in all things about financial insecurity, financial barriers, homelessness at MSHDA, and we welcome her to our program today. Michael Centi is with the Wayne Metro Community Action Agency. He's the department director for integration. He guides wraparound services that support over 10,000 residents in Wayne County. He leads the department that oversees all of Wayne Metro's call centers, utility assistance programs, financial mobility services, and the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Funds, which is over $100 million. He's a native of Metro Detroit, a graduate of MSU, and has a master's degree in leadership and organizational performance from Vanderbilt University. So two very qualified folks joining us today. Thank you so much for being with us. We're very happy to have you. And I will turn it over to Kelly for the first segment of the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm excited to bring the CERA program to you. So we've called the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program CERA. You'll hear me refer to it as that throughout the program. And right off the top, to get more information on the program, the website that we have set up is michigan.gov/CERA, C-E-R-A. So now I'll go through and I'll tell you the basics about the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Next slide, please. So we have $622 million from the Consolidated Appropriations Act to use to pay for rental assistance and utility assistance for renters in Michigan. So there's some basic federal eligibility around the tenants. So tenants need to be below 80% of area median income. And to give you a reference point for that, in Wayne County, a family of 4 making less than about $63,000 will qualify for this program. Households also have to have experienced COVID economic hardship. So sometime since March of 2020, any household member that was on unemployment for any period of time, or if you had decreased income due to like lack of work hours, your work hours were cut, or if you had increased expenses like medical expenses or childcare expenses because schools were closed, or an other financial hardship, then you're going to qualify for this program. But we do need some documentation, either just self-attestation of you telling us what the COVID economic hardship was, or unemployment documentation to show that COVID economic hardship. And then also to be at risk of homelessness or housing instability. That's another federal requirement. And how we're getting at that is anyone who's past due on their rent or utilities really qualifies as having housing instability. So really, if you just have any kind of past due rent notice from your landlord saying that you're behind on your rent or past due utility bills, that will qualify your household as having housing instability. Next slide, please. So the rental assistance benefit for the CERA program can pay quite a substantial amount of rent. So up to the federal limit is 15 months of rental assistance for this program, and we've broken it up into 2 different income bands, offering a slightly longer benefit, so a 2-month longer benefit for those lower income households that are under 50% of area median income. So those households initially can get 12 months of rental assistance of arrears, and then they can also get up to 3 months forward of rental assistance to help ensure housing stability. And the 50 to 80% AMI bracket can initially get up to 10 months of arrears, and then 3 months of forward rental assistance, for a total of 13 months of rental assistance. The individual monthly rent limit, we did set a cap on that at 150% of fair market rent, but very few households that are applying for the program, that cap doesn't typically come into play. Most people's rents are substantially below 150% of fair market rent, so that doesn't come into play too often. And then we also do reimburse up to $400 of late fees and up to $150 of court costs for landlords. And to be clear, in this program, when landlords are participating in the program, the rental assistance payments do go directly to the landlord. So when the tenant and the landlord are both applying, those funds do go directly to the landlord so that they can recoup those rental payments that they weren't able to receive earlier during the pandemic. Next slide, please. So we are able to provide an internet assistance benefit with this program as well to help people stay connected. So tenants are able to get a $300 internet stipend if they show that they have home internet in their rental unit. So really just showing their internet statement or bill, they'll be able to get $300 sent directly to them to help them with their home internet costs. Next slide, please. So utility assistance. This is one thing that we're very excited to be able to bring to this program, because our program in 2020, the eviction diversion program, was not able to include utility assistance. But in this program, it's definitely a substantial benefit. So the CERA program can pay for electricity, any type of home heating, water, sewer, and trash. But we're only including trash if it's bundled along with another municipal bill like water or sewer. And you can see we've broken down the benefit based off of the household size. So a family that's 1 or 2 persons can get up to $1,500 of utility assistance. But if they're under 50% area median income, that gets increased by $500 if that's needed to fully pay off all of their arrears. And you can see the benefit goes up based off of a larger household size. And we also can establish a credit on your account. So if the arrears don't fully use up the full benefit, then a family can get either $300 or $500 applied towards their gas or electric bill to be able to provide some future cushion to not have to worry about those bills that next month. Next. So for the application process, we have an online application process or a portal that you can find at our website. So go to michigan.gov/CERA, and there's a green Apply Now button right towards the top of the page that takes you to our application page. We encourage you to read through some of the information before you start applying, so you understand what type of documents you're going to need to upload as part of the process. But you can access this on your smartphone or tablet or a computer. And if you're doing it off of a smartphone or tablet, the program will be able to access your camera so that you can take pictures of things like your photo ID and your income documents and other sorts of things, utility bills that you're going to need to upload during the application process. So at the beginning of the application process, either the tenant or the landlord can start the application process, and they'll just need the tenant's name, address, and email, and the landlord's email to get the process started. And then that will send out emails to both the tenant and the landlord with a deep link that specifically takes them to their application. So the tenant will complete their information, put in information about their household, where do they live, their family members, what their income situation is like, what type of COVID hardship did they have, and they'll submit their application. Then the landlord also gets an email where the landlord will complete their portion of the application, where they will upload a ledger that shows the payments made in 2020 and 2021 to establish how much is the tenant behind on rent right now. They'll upload the lease, they'll upload a form called a W-9 so that we can make payments to them, and the landlord will complete their portion of the application. We can process applications if the landlord has opted out of the program and doesn't submit their application. So don't be worried if you're a tenant and your landlord says, no, I don't want to participate in this program, you can still apply, we can still process your application, and you can still get help with this program. But we do encourage you to talk with your landlord. And if you're a landlord, please talk with your tenant, because the application process does go faster if we have both the tenant and the landlord submitting their applications. And we can't process an application if the tenant doesn't apply, because the federal rules require the eligibility to be determined based off of the tenant. So if you're a landlord and you've applied, but your tenant hasn't yet, we encourage you to talk with your tenant, and we will also be reaching out to tenants to try to encourage them to apply. Imminent eviction cases will be prioritized for processing. So there's a question on the tenant's part of the application where they can say if their landlord has already filed for eviction. And Wayne Metro and other organizations are working closely with legal services counterparts to discuss, which of these cases are the most imminent within the eviction process, so that we can prioritize those cases for processing, so that hopefully we're avoiding evictions in as many cases as possible, and trying to avoid judgments being entered on tenants. We will have a public-facing dashboard that will launch later this month. So you can go to that michigan.gov/CERA to learn more about how many applications we're getting in. It's a very large number. Right now, it's up to about 19,000 applications statewide. And we're seeing about 45% of those applications in Wayne County. So a very large application volume in Wayne County. So we're really happy to be able to get the information out on this program. And I'm going to turn over to Michael to talk more about how Wayne Metro is working through this program.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Kelly. All right, yeah, CERA in action. All right, so let's talk about kind of what we've seen so far at Wayne Metro. Yeah, so this program launched about the middle of March 15th. So I'll kind of take you through a little bit of what we're seeing so far. If you go to the next slide, please. So first, I just want to kind of set a little context for who Wayne Metro is. So we're a large community action agency serving the Metro Detroit region, celebrating 50 years actually this year. So Wayne Metro offers, broad range of supports, from utility assistance to Head Start programs to employment programs, and a lot in between there. Go check us out on the website, waynemetro.org. We have a call center. So, we encourage folks to get in touch with us. But, of all the programs that we operate and have operated over the 50 years, I think CERA is safe to say that the largest in terms of the dollar amount and number of staff we have kind of supporting this work. If you go to the next slide, please. So kind of a quick look at the numbers and sort of what CERA looks like, at least for Wayne Metro and for much of Wayne County. So Wayne Metro really does serve Wayne County for the CERA program. So that some of the information I'll talk about is specific to Wayne County, but I will, there's some information here about the surrounding counties as well. So we have about $95 million in just rental assistance. These are unheard of numbers, right, for housing and homeless services and eviction prevention work. So super exciting. We have about 120 staff working on this project, not only processing applications, but taking phone calls and helping people complete applications. So it's a tremendous effort. We think we'll be serving about 10,000 households in Wayne County through the CERA program through the end of this year. To date, we're already at about 2,000 households that we're working with. And as Kelly mentioned, the assistance is fairly generous, which is amazing. We're seeing right now average assistance amounts of about $7,800 per household. And within that, 85% of folks are really being able to access both utility and rental assistance. Some folks opt out of one or the other for various reasons, but it is definitely a benefit that's available, and it's good that we're able to support people in both ways. And as Kelly indicated, with prior iterations of this kind of work, if the landlord didn't want to participate, unfortunately, it often meant the client was not eligible for this benefit. And CERA has really corrected that, which is wonderful. We're not seeing a ton, but we have about 6% of our cases where the payment has actually gone directly to the tenant. And those are folks who would have otherwise been ineligible under previous programs. So that's a really nice benefit of this work. And I also have to mention, we're working in partnership. So Maine Metro really does operate the bulk of the financial assistance for Wayne County, but within the Detroit service area specifically, we're working with United Community Housing Coalition and Lakeshore Legal Aid. And then within the rest of Wayne County, the Out Wayne service area, we're working with Access and Lakeshore Legal Aid in that area as well. I think you can go next slide. So as Kelly indicated, the application process, it starts online for most folks. The CERA app at .michigan.gov. There's a screenshot of what it will look like there. Some things I want to point out about this from a practical side. There's some FAQs there, where little videos that folks can watch when they go to apply to know how to navigate that application, or to check on the status of an application that's already submitted. So it kind of works similarly to a lot of online applications that we're used to dealing with this way. So the use of technology and leveraging kind of the online portal for this program is really a very nice benefit, and I think will streamline the process for many folks. Of course, technology is wonderful, but we're still here to help folks walk through the application if they're more comfortable doing that. So specifically, you'll see numbers there for the Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck, and Out Wayne. Those are both operated by Wayne Metro, and we have call center staff available. We have about 50 appointments a day, actually, that we're able to help people complete these applications. We also take paper applications and mailed applications. So if technology does present a barrier, it is not the only way to apply for assistance. It is a way to apply for assistance, and probably the quickest way, but we certainly want to make sure we're not presenting barriers that would prohibit folks from accessing this type of assistance. And then you also see numbers for Oakland and Macomb County, in case we have some folks on the call from Oakland and Macomb. These are not operated by Wayne Metro, but these are the agencies that are the main point of contact for CERA in those regions. Okay, next slide. All right, so just kind of leave just with some key tips on kind of what we're seeing when going to navigate the application process. So as Kelly indicated, really can't stress enough the importance of submitting accurate documents and complete documents. That is the quickest way to get the assistance, is to upload everything that is required. Of course, if things aren't perfect from the beginning, we can always go back and correct those documents, but it of course does require more touches on that case, and it does kind of slow the process down a bit. I do want to encourage, if you're a landlord or tenant, talk to each other about applying for assistance. There is a CDC, still has the eviction moratorium, and there's an eviction prevention form that tenants can fill out and provide to their landlords. But to be clear, there is not a rent moratorium. It is an eviction moratorium. And so that rent still is owed at some point. And so we want to make sure if you're a tenant and you're behind, talk to your landlord about CERA and kind of get the process going. Similarly, if you have a court date and you're a tenant, show up to court and talk about CERA. Oftentimes we're seeing the court process is very responsive to that. And in specifically, the regions that we work in Wayne County, we have legal assistance available for tenants, and sometimes representation for tenants. And lastly, again, if facing application or technology challenges, just get in touch, call us. And we're taking a lot of calls, but the hold times are really low. So keep calling. We're happy to walk you through the application and address any challenges, or just provide more information about the program and kind of helping to assess your situation.
Wonderful. Kelly and Michael, thank you too so much for sharing that information about the CERA program. We have quite a few questions coming into the chat. I really want to dig in so we can get those answered. The first question, we have several communities with a large immigrant population. If someone is a non-citizen and may not have a social security number, how can they apply?
Yes, they can still apply for the program. So online, it will ask you, do you have a social security number, yes or no? And so you can just put no, and you can still apply for the program. Folks, in terms of showing photo ID, they could use their permanent residence card if they don't have a state issued ID. So this program is still accessible for people who are not US citizens.
Wonderful. Kelly, thank you so much for that response. Another question we have, where can a client get a maybe paper copy of the application, and where do they mail it to if they don't have internet access or access to the online portal?
Sure. So they can go to the michigan.gov/CERA page, and really right at the top right-hand portion of that page, there's links to all of the paper applications. And the paper applications are in English, Spanish, and Arabic. And the portal right now is in English and Spanish, and we are working to get the portal in Arabic as well. So people can fill out the paper applications, and there's also another link that's called the CERA contact list. And that will list county by county, which of the service agencies are operating the program are that main point of contact. And that's who you're going to need to mail the application into. And it has their address on that PDF.
Wonderful. And I see that Michael has also put the address into the chat. So thank you so much for that.
Yep, that's for Wayne County. Yep.
For Wayne County, perfect. Thank you. Another question we have is utility and internet assistance only for renters?
Yes, so the federal rules for this program is that it can only be used for renters. So yes, you do have to be a renter household to apply for the program. There is a homeowner assistance program that we'll be launching this summer. So that was funded in the American Rescue Act. So that program just hasn't gotten launched yet, but we'll be launching this summer to be able to provide mortgage assistance, property tax assistance, as well as utility assistance for homeowners.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Another question that we do have, how long does it take to receive the funds from the program? So if they were to apply and to get approved, how long would it take for the funds to be given directly to the landlord?
Well, that is going to vary a little bit. I mean, I'll let Michael talk about this too, but we are seeing a very high rate of applications. So a lot of applications. So it will take, a few weeks at least for those applications to get processed. But, submitting a complete application definitely will help in terms of having that application process go smoother, and also checking the email address that you use, because that's how we're going to be communicating with tenants and landlords. So if you say one of the, you uploaded your ID and it was really blurry and they can't read it, the caseworkers will be communicating with both tenants and landlords via email to be able to get any remainder of documents that need to be uploaded. So please frequently check your email on a daily basis, so that hopefully if we do need to reach out to you with additional information requests, that comes back quickly, and that will also help speed up the time frame for getting the case approved.
Yeah, I'll definitely second that. And kind of from our perspective, what we're seeing in Wayne County, of the roughly 500 cases that we've paid on at this point, we're seeing about 35 days is the average from application date to payment date. That number, as Kelly indicated, we received about 45% of 19,000 applications. I didn't do the math quite there yet, but there's quite a few applications coming in. And so there is a big demand. But we've seen the process take as quickly as 3 days. When everyone kind of gets their application in and parties are cooperative, it can move very quickly. If that doesn't happen, of course, it drags out.
That's promising. Thank you for sharing that, Michael. Another question we have, I am a landlord and I have multiple units that I rent out. Can I apply for each unit that is behind on rent?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, you would need to do a separate application for each of your tenants because their information is different. They're living in a different unit and their ledger is going to be different. But the common things like your W-9 and other information, you'll just need to keep closely at hand. But yes, you can submit for all of your tenants.
Wonderful. I have one last question, then we'll conclude for today. What kind of outreach is being done in order to reach communities to let them know about the rental assistance program? So how can people, what are you all doing for outreach? And then how can people get more information about the program?
Sure. So when we get a little bit further into the program, we will be looking really specifically at zip code level data to see which zip codes are not applying as much as we would expect so that we can do targeted outreach to those areas. We're obviously seeing a very large application volume in Southeast Michigan, but we do want to continue to get the word out to make sure that everyone understands that this program is out there because we are getting more funds. So the American Rescue Act will also be giving us about another $500 million of funds. So we think that this program is going to be probably about a 2-year program. So people don't have to be worried that if they don't apply this month, that they're going to miss out on the funding or anything like that. But so we will be continuing to work with, the local organizations that are administering the program, as well as, using, state efforts towards expanding the outreach.
Wonderful. I have one last question that just came into the chat and then we'll conclude really. What if I submitted an application, but no follow-up and the landlord refused to cooperate?
So yeah, you can definitely, there's a sort of a protocol to follow here where we have to kind of attempt to reach out to the landlord, but within a period of about 10 days, if we don't have the contact from the landlord and we've, have received all the documentation to substantiate that, yes, this is a tenant that owes money and yes, they, are eligible for the program, then we can go ahead and proceed with payment with the tenant. And like I said, we've seen that for just a few cases so far. Kelly, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I would just say, please, follow up with the service agency that you applied for. If you're, experiencing that your landlord has told you, they've opted out, those sorts of things. But the service agencies do need to try to attempt, to reach out to the landlord to make contact with them, because it's best if we can at least get a confirmation of what's the total amount owed right now from both the tenant and the landlord. That helps speed up the process of getting the case paid. But as Michael pointed out, we definitely can serve tenants that their landlord is not participating in the program. And in that situation, the funds do go to the tenant. And then it's the tenant's responsibility to pay their landlord for the rent owed.
Wonderful. Kelly and Michael, thank you all again so much for sharing all this great information about the CERA program. And for all of our viewers, you can see the follow-up information in the chat box about how you can get more information in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Megan to close it out and say a few closing words. Megan?
Thank you again, Kelly and Michael, for your information today. This is a really, really fantastic program. And to all our listeners, please share this information out with your networks. We're counting on you to help get the word out. So as a reminder for everyone, if anyone is experiencing any type of need, our 211 helpline at United Way remains available 24/7. We have a running list of services in the community. There are many services that are getting stood up every single day, like the new rental assistance program. So if you need help with anything, please give us a call at 211, or you can also visit us online at unitedwaysem.org/211. I'd also like to share that United Way has launched our first ever equity challenge. It's a 21-day equity challenge. It starts on May 21st and will run through June 18th. The participants will receive emails every weekday filled with videos, articles, and infographics to broaden our collective understanding of the history and current issues surrounding inequity and what we can do as a community to move forward. There will be opportunities to engage with fellow participants and share what we've learned in virtual events throughout the month. So please join us on this journey. You do need to sign up to participate, and you can do that at unitedwaysem.org/equity challenge. And then finally, our next town hall next week, we will be joined by Sarah Placha Elliott, who is Executive Director of the Youth Development Resource Center, to discuss how you can find youth summer programs this year. And as a general rule, to see all of our previous town halls and more upcoming topics, you can visit unitedwaysem.org/virtual town halls. And you can see the upcoming schedule there, and you can look at the previous recordings. So thank you again for joining us. Stay safe, everyone.